Hello and welcome to my channel. Today I have a fun ocean scene card using some new stamps and dies from Waffle. Let's take a look at the finished card. You can see I've got this fun, really full ocean scene and just a nice little birthday sentiment there. Let's get into the process of making the card. So I am going to do a lot of kind of ink smushing. So I'm using antique linen, scattered straw, and tea dye here to make my sand. So I've got my mini Waffle media mat, and I'm just going to take a piece of Tim Holtz watercolor paper and just kind of smush down and pick up that color totally random. And get a little design. This portion will serve as the sand for my finished card. So I just take a heat gun and kind of dry this in between. The cool thing about Distress Oxide inks is that they layer upon each other. So if you have a dry piece of paper that you've already worked on, you can go back in with more ink and add to it. So I just go ahead and use my heat gun to speed up that process and dry in between. So I'm going to go back in and get more color onto that piece of watercolor cardstock. And I am using the texture side for this. There is a smooth side to this paper, but for this I used the textured side just because I thought that was a little bit more organic for the ocean scene. So now I've got this pretty close to how I want it, and I am just going to go ahead and dry that. I do then go in with another hit of tea dye, and what I do is I just smush that down, add some water, and then get a paintbrush and use that to flick on some little dots to make this look a little bit more like sand. Once I have this looking the way that I want it, I set it aside so that it will completely dry. And then I'm going to move on to the blue ocean panel. Of course, I clean up my mat in between and also clean up my work surface now that there's little tea dye splatters everywhere. So I'm going to use a few different blue colors. So I've got Peacock Feathers, Mermaid, Lagoon, and Tumbled Glass are, I think, the three that I used. And just getting those down randomly, and then I'm just repeating the exact same process. So adding the water, smushing my watercolor cardstock down onto it, drying it, and then I'll go in for another layer. I did get really good coverage the first time I did this, but it looked a little bit too homogeneous for me. A lot of these colors are very similar, where I think is on the sand I used colors that were pretty different from each other, even though they're all in the same color family. On this one, I probably could have used something that was a little bit more different to get a different look, but I didn't. I just cleaned off my work surface and I'm going back in with that tumbled glass to get a little bit more of a lighter shade to this and add, like I said, a little bit of a difference in color. So I'm just going in, smushing that down, and I will once again use my heat tool to dry this. I also do all of my heating on this little wood cutting board so that I don't burn my fingers. Once I have those complete, they're set aside to dry, I'm going to go ahead and stamp all of my little images. I love this stamp set. It's got really, really cute all the different kinds of fish and a jellyfish and some kelp and coral, lots of different things. I'm using VersaFine Onyx Black ink onto some Bristol Smooth cardstock because I'm going to use my Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers. I'm also using my MISTI because I am pretty certain I'm going to have to stamp these all twice because I'm not going to get a good impression, and I do end up stamping these twice. And then I'm going to go ahead and set this panel off to dry. This is a pigment ink, so it does take a little bit longer to dry, and I don't want to mess up the lines with my watercolor markers. This is a water-based ink, however, so it's perfect for the watercolor markers. So I'm going to use the Cloudscape Panel Die to get, all I want is that negative shape, and you'll see how that comes together in the final card. So I die cut that while my panel was drying, and now I can go in with my Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers and do a lot of coloring. I kept all of the coloring in today. I know that some of you really like to watch that part of the videos, so I went ahead and left it in. I'm just using some of my favorite Zig color combos. So for this red, it's carmine and light carmine, and that's kind of as close as I have to coral. I do not have all of the markers for the Zigs. You can buy them in packs and you can buy them individually. I think what I did the first time around is that I bought the 48 color pack, and I've slowly added on some of the colors that I'm missing. You can buy them in single markers from like ellenhudson.com is I know where you can get some and where I've purchased them in the past. I'll go ahead and link the 48 count down below though, the one that I have, or at least the one that I started out with. So I'm kind of trying as I color to do some rainbow effects. So I'm making sure that I'm covering kind of a broad spectrum of colors. So I've got my red with the corals, that jellyfish is purple. I've got gray with this kind of stingray here. And then a lot of my fish are yellow and orange and blue. I end up doing that seahorse in like a very light pink color. And then of course I knew that I was going to get greens in with the kelps and the seaweeds and that little kind of sea bush. I don't know what that is. Also doing that starfish in some yellow, kind of orange shades. I had a lot of fun with this set. I've said this a couple times in videos that I've done. This set is illustrated by Cassie Lozois. I hope I'm saying her last name right. Waffle Flower I feel like is really unique because they contract with a lot of different illustrators, and I just love Cassie's illustrations. She comes out with a set, I want to color it, I want to make cards with it. She just has some really, really cool ones. This set is called Mermaid Mail. It is linked down below. If you're watching this video when it goes live on June 15th, then the new release is available from Waffle Flower. The links are down below in the description box. So this set is brand new. It does have a really beautiful mermaid in it, and you'll see me use that mermaid in a card project coming up. So be sure that you are subscribed so that you see that project when it goes up, because there's another really, really cool release coming from Waffle Flower that I am super, super excited about. So be sure that you subscribe to see those. Just gonna finish out the coloring here. You know, as we gear up for summer, I live in North Texas and it is already very much summer here. It's been summer for at least the last month and a half. I laugh because summer here is basically May through like October. So I am feeling the summer card vibes and wanting to make a bunch of summer themed cards. So these sets are coming out at a perfect time. I am just in the corner testing a number of different pink combinations, deciding which one I want to use for the seahorse. I did say earlier, this is Bristol smooth paper. For me, that is what works best with the Zig markers. I've tried them on other paper, but truthfully and honestly, I get the best results when I use Bristol Smooth. So I'm just finishing up my coloring here using a few different green combinations to kind of get a varied look with the seaweed and the kelp, and you know, I want to have a few different shades. And then I will color that final fish, the little skinny one, in a darker blue color. That darker blue color, I believe, is actually blue and English lavender. It's a really fun, pretty combo. And then once we're done with the coloring, we can move on to the assembly. So I have my big smushed watercolor panels. Obviously they're full size, and I'm going to use that frame from the Cloudscape's Panel Die to, you know, kind of separate the ocean and the floor, the sand. And so I'm just taking a pencil and tracing out where those lines are, and I'm going to take some scissors and just cut out this shape. They're not perfect, but in the end, it works really well. I do think that you probably could have used the Cloudscape Panel Die and used it as it was intended to be used and like die cut out the kind of clouds background. They probably just look a little bit like waves on this card. It could be fun. Anyways, you can see here, I am just cutting out this panel, just using like regular old scissors, and it will line up really well in the end. I just end up using some dot runner to adhere those down to my card base. I'm going to do the same thing with the ocean background, using a pencil, kind of drawing out where I need to cut and cutting these freehand. So now you can see I've got those adhered down just with a dot runner, and then I'm going to use some foam tape and pop up this kind of outline for my scene. I think this really ties it all together, and I really like how this looks. So just foam tape the whole way around, popping that up. And after I do this, I realize I really should have stamped my sentiment down first, but MISTI to the rescue. I am about to stamp that sentiment right now. This is from a new set also released this month from Waffle that has a lot of great sentiments that you can use. Just going ahead and once again using that VersaFine Onyx Black and stamping that down onto the ocean. JJ Bolton actually did those sentiments. Now I'm just kind of arranging this where I think I want them to go, and then I can move on and just adhere all of these down. I end up having one extra piece of little sea kelp, but I'll use that in a future card. Just using a combination of liquid glue and some foam tape to glue these down, kind of like the stacked look, and have some things have dimension and some things be glued straight down to the background. I really like using liquid glue because it buys you a little bit of wiggle time to decide exactly where you want to place the things down on your scene. The little glue tube holder is from Make It by Marco on Etsy in case you're interested. So here is the final gluing down of the pieces. Just go ahead and glue that jellyfish down, and then I'm going to use some foam tape to pop up that fish and give it a little bit more dimension. And then that will complete the card for today. This one was really, really fun to make. I hope that you enjoyed watching this. Be sure that you check out the new release from Waffle. Like I said, links are down below. If you want to see more from me, please subscribe. If you hit the bell, then you'll be notified every time I upload a new video. And I will catch you in the next one. Hope you're all having a great day.